Welcome to the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Podcast. I'm Dr. Lisa Olson, a board-certified weight loss medicine specialist and certified life coach. In this podcast, I'll share fresh insights and effective techniques for incorporating mindset, habit change, and proven science into your life. Are you ready to achieve sustainable weight loss, wellness, and longevity? Then let's jump in and lose weight the smart way. Hi, and welcome back. I was recently meeting with a client, let's call her Carol, who worked herself up into a bundle of stress over something that never ended up happening. Her teenager was going to a party in a town over 20 minutes from home. Carol was sure something awful was going to happen, and she was sick with worry. He was going to drink and drive, eat gummies and drive, transport too many kids in the car and get distracted, text and drive, get in an accident, stay out too late. The police were going to be called to the party and he'd get arrested, and so on. The list of trouble he could get into was vast. I don't personally know Carol's son, but let me share a few things I learned when I asked her some questions. Her son is a straight-A student and has already been accepted to college. He's a good kid who has never gotten a ticket nor gotten into any trouble. She's never caught him drinking, using gummies, texting while driving, nor has she ever had reason to believe he had driven impaired, ever. He's never kissed a girl, so there's no specific reason to worry about anything getting out of hand there. But still, things could happen, even in a bucolic suburb 20 minutes from home. How did the evening unfold? She worried all week long, and then the night of the party, she monitored his location obsessively. He was a little tired, so he drove home by 10 p.m., stone, cold, sober, content, and ready to hang out and chat a bit about the night with his mom before getting to sleep. How did Carol feel when she was thinking all week long about the things that could have happened when he was out? Distraught, almost frantic, worried, anxious, and apprehensive. And when she drove herself into an apprehensive, anxious state, you can well imagine what happened next. She poured some wine and ate some cookies and generally ate in a way that wasn't aligned with her health and weight loss goals throughout the entire week. That might sound like a TV show or sitcom cliche, but those feelings were real to her, and she responded in the way her brain has learned to take the edge off her anxiety, with a little wine, a little sugar, and a lot of comfort food, not to mention a hefty dose of Instagram and TikTok for distraction's sake. Here's what I'd like to point out. It's not the fact that her teenage son went to a party over 20 minutes away that made her feel anxious. It's also not the fact that he went to the party that caused her to drink the wine and eat the cookies. It's her thoughts about him going to that party that created the worries. She created the feelings of anxiety, apprehension, and worry with her thoughts about all of the things that might go wrong. And because she created the feeling of apprehension, it was predictable that her brain would try to minimize that uncomfortable feeling with the quickest solution it could find. Food, hyper-palatable food, and wine. Does this experience sound familiar? We all do a version of this from time to time, some of us more than others. I don't do this to myself often these days, but I do have a version of it that bubbles up when I think about my youngest child. She's working hard to improve her fluency in speaking German. She's been going to Germany every year, forcing herself to practice speaking German with her grandmother there and with other friends that she's made over the years. I think this is terrific, and I encourage her to go to Germany whenever she can. I encourage her to take classes there and to stay connected with people she's met. I've suggested that she consider applying to college there because nothing is better than full immersion to become totally fluent. And yet, I sometimes catch myself worrying in advance that she will go to college there. And then she'll decide to stay for grad school or med school, and then I imagine she'll fall in love with a German and stay there forever. And then I'll need to actually learn German myself, and I'll need to move there to help take care of my future grandchildren. You can see how ridiculous this thinking is, right? I mean, she's a sophomore in high school, and I'm worried about having to fly to Germany to babysit my future grandkids. It's bananas. What is that worry in advance about a problem that may never happen doing for me? Absolutely nothing. But occasionally, I indulge in that thinking anyway. And when I do, I feel a little tug of discomfort bubbling up in my stomach and in my chest. It's not a huge worry, but rather a nagging worry. Every time I encourage my daughter to go to Germany and I plan a trip for her, there's a risk my brain will take me down this path of unhelpful thinking. It's like a little tiny smooth pebble in my shoe. When we worry in advance, we're creating our own feelings of anxiety, manufacturing stress that doesn't have to exist. That activates our fight or flight reaction through the sympathetic nervous system, and it raises our cortisol levels, which in turn increases ghrelin, our hunger hormone. When we let our stress run unchecked, we increase cravings for sweets and treats, increase visceral or central fat storage around our waist, and we increase inflammation. This is not a good thing. We're more likely to become insulin resistant, and this drives an unhealthy cycle that leads to mediocre food choices, poor sleep, and of course, all of this sets us up for weight gain and pre-diabetes, if not full-blown type 2 diabetes. Before we talk about solutions to negative thinking and sympathetic nervous system overload that leads us down the path of stress eating and weight gain, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Ha, just kidding. It's still me, Dr. Lisa Olson, founder of Smart Weight Loss Coaching. If you're as focused on your health as you are on the scale, you're my person. In my online program, we'll help you establish healthy habits for weight loss, better health, and longevity. For those of you who have looked at our website before, you'll be excited to see that you no longer have to commit to a 3-month program to join us. If you'd like to learn more about our affordable monthly membership, head over to smartweightlosscoaching.com. And we're back. In my role as a physician and coach, I often hear from people who are incredibly stressed. These folks are legitimately concerned about serious problems, from infertility to an abnormal mammogram to financial hardship or divorce. They're facing the challenges of helping a parent navigate dementia or cancer, death of a loved one, or helping a teenager struggling with mental illness. These aren't things that anyone can make better with just a few kind words, reframing a tough situation, or even a hug. At some point, most if not all of us will navigate a major life stressor, one that utterly flattens us and leaves us gasping for breath. What I'm trying to help with today is the reduction of stress related to things that aren't worthy of the fight or flight nervous system activation. Why not do what we can to minimize the impact of the smaller stressors in life? We can avoid creating our own stress amplification, and we can also insulate ourselves to some degree from the impact of life's biggest stressors. So here's the good news about the doom and gloom thoughts that we sometimes slide into, creating anxiety in advance of any problem. We don't have to go there. We have agency to calm our nervous system down in the face of stressors that aren't seriously threatening, or they're not threatening yet. I don't want Carol to have the same reaction to her son going to a party that she might have to the death of a loved one. They just aren't the same kind of stress, and we don't have to allow our brains and bodies to go there for our day-to-day worries. Just know that it takes practice to catch those thoughts, to interrupt them, and to change a negative thought loop. You're not going to change from a glass half empty, anxious state to an optimistic believer that everything is going to work out fine overnight. But you can start to turn that ship with some of the steps we'll talk about next. We don't have to believe an opposite thought to our instinctive, unintentional thought that bubbles up. Carol doesn't have to believe that her son is going to go to the party, drink a glass of water, watch a feel-good movie with his friends, and drive home at 9 p.m. to read an educational book. That's a little silly. But she also doesn't have to go to DEFCON 1, the highest alert for danger level, and assume he's driving down the highway at 100 miles per hour, high on weed and drunk. A different thought is available to her. Something believable that isn't so anxiety-producing. Here are 3 ideas. She could think, my son has been responsible in the past when he's gone out with his friends, so it's pretty unlikely that he's going to make any life-altering poor decisions tonight. Or maybe this thought, I want to get comfortable giving him a little more responsibility and independence. He has a phone in case of an emergency. It's not easy, but I'm practicing letting him go out into the world without mommy watching and choreographing his every move. Here's one final curated thought Carol could choose to reduce her own anxiety. Part of being a teenager involves learning how to be independent and to experience age-appropriate risk-taking. Part of being the parent of a teenager is learning to live with that. Any of these thoughts might help Carol feel calmer and less anxious. Maybe that last one will help her start down the path to feeling capable of handling the discomfort that comes with her son becoming independent. If Carol wants to feel capable of handling that discomfort of her kid going out unsupervised, she'll need to practice thoughts that make her feel capable. Thoughts like, I can handle this. I trust him. He's shown me that he's responsible. I want to learn to navigate this because there's no upside to worrying in advance about a problem that hasn't happened. This is something I will learn to handle. The more she can calm her sympathetic nervous system, the one that causes the fight or flight feelings of adrenaline rushing through our bodies, the less likely she is to self-soothe with wine, food, screens, or other maladaptive habits. Interestingly, sometimes things work in the opposite direction. I usually find that our thoughts create our feelings, and that's what drives our actions. In that model, thinking something terrible is going to happen causes Carol to feel anxious, and she self-soothes with sugar and wine. And that blocks her weight loss. But it does also happen in the opposite direction at times. Sometimes we can start to feel anxious as a result of something happening on top of being chronically stressed. We tend to spend way too much time in that fight or flight way of feeling. Maybe because there's a lot of stress at work. Maybe you're in a difficult relationship. And then you hear your kid is going to a party and your heart starts to pound. That physical sensation of your heart pounding can actually drive negative thoughts. In that case, we want to tap into our body to lower our heart rate, lower our blood pressure, slow our breathing, and thereby reduce our cortisol levels, our stress hormone levels. We can achieve this in many ways, one of which is to breathe and another is to move. This is a great place to start doing some of the breathing exercises that you may have learned in the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Program or somewhere else. When we exhale longer than we inhale, that slows everything down. Try it now. Breathe in for the count of 4, then hold it for the count of 5, and then slowly breathe out through pursed lips, like you're putting your mouth on a straw, for a count of 6, or even 7 or 8. Just that one breath, in for 4, hold for 5, and out for 6, 7, or 8. That will start to slow things down. Do that a few times, and your body will step out of fight or flight and will allow you to think more clearly. You could do this a few times every day. Another strategy is to move your body. Getting out for a walk in nature might be ideal, but even just a short burst of movement in place can clear your brain and lower your anxiety. If you like to worry in advance, you're not broken and you're not alone. It's a normal human brain variant to do that. But if you find yourself feeling stressed out and anxious too often, especially over things that haven't even happened yet, please recognize that this has an impact on both your health and your weight. There are plenty of things you can do to mitigate that sympathetic nervous system activation and the rise in cortisol that comes from chronic worrying. Of course, prevention of stress and anxiety is a fantastic way to reduce eating and drinking off plan. We can all do that through regular daily breathing, meditation, or gratitude exercises, through adequate sleep, which I cannot stress enough, through healthy nutrition, movement, and social connections. Here's my question for you. How do you want to feel when life throws a big stressor in your direction? How do you want to feel when you realize a problem might come up in the future, but it hasn't happened and may not ever happen? How do you want to react to the minor stresses in life? Personally, I'd like to feel calm, capable, and maybe hopeful. I'd like to feel resilient and ready for whatever comes my way. None of us want to feel paralyzed by overwhelm, worry, or indecision, because when we feel overwhelmed, we tend to shut down or to ruminate. We don't take care of ourselves and we don't manage our stress hormones. And now you have a few ideas for how you might get into the right mindset to avoid worrying in advance about life. What's your MBA for today, your next best action? Maybe you want to choose your thoughts carefully so you don't worry in advance. Maybe you'd like to reach out to others for support, something I really encourage in our Smart Weight Loss coaching community. Perhaps you'd like to learn about breath work and meditation, or you're interested in taking some action to prevent overwhelm by focusing on healthy nutrition, movement, social connections, or sleep. One last idea, you could sign up for our free newsletter at smartweightlosscoaching.com. It's packed with actionable ideas to manage your health, your weight, and your stress. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like more support during your smart weight loss journey, check out our group coaching program at smartweightlosscoaching.com. Until next time, stay well and stay smart.